So, if you've always wanted to bench 100 kilograms, stick around because in this video I'm going to tell you exactly how. Today I'm going to tell you exactly what I did to go from benching 60 kilograms to 100 kilograms in the span of months, so that you can also join the elusive 2-plate club. So first I'll cover the basics. I won't spend too much time on this because most people already understand this, and then we'll move on to the interesting, less well-known tips to accelerate your progress even faster. So in order to make steady progress, you have to have good form, otherwise you're at an increased risk of injury. And this will force you to stop doing bench press or working out in general, and will most likely cause you to regress in strength. So here's some quick fire form tips to prevent this. Set up the bench so where you lay back on it, your eyes are directly below the bar on the rack. Arch your back a moderate amount, pinching your shoulders together, planting your feet firmly. Grab the bar roughly 1.5 times shoulder width apart, unrack with your wrists straight. Lower the bar to your chest in line with your nipples and make sure that your elbows aren't flared out. Around a 45-degree angle is best. Now if it's your first time benching, I recommend that you do this without any weight in the first place. Try and get the form down and the feeling of bench pressing without any weight on the bar. Then once you got the form down and you start to bump up the weight a little bit, I recommend to periodically record yourself doing sets. Because when I do this, I often catch myself missing out on a certain step in my form and this could cause injury. So it's a good way to keep yourself in check. So the next thing that you have to consider is programming bench press into your workout split correctly. Try to bench press at least twice a week. This allows you to train your chest with enough frequency and gives you plenty of time to recover. And make bench press the very first exercise you do in the session. This way you'll be able to bench press as hard as possible because you'll have no fatigue from any other exercises before. As the focus here is strength rather than adding size and hypertrophy, you'll have to train like a power lifter instead of a bodybuilder. Basically what this looks like is, instead of doing 8 to 12 reps like most bodybuilders do, you have to train in the 2 to 5 rep range while still going close to failure. Always leave 1 rep in the tank if there isn't a spotter with you, by the way. By doing lower reps, you're focusing on quick power output, which is ideal for increasing and improving your bench press PR. And you should also up your rest intervals from 2 minutes to 4 minutes. This means that you can fully recover, ready for the next set, and you can squeeze out even more reps. Now when I say this, people often resist doing this because they imagine that it's going to increase and bloat their whole workout session time. But in reality, it isn't that bad. Imagine that you're doing 3 sets of bench press and you have increased your rest time from 2 minutes to 4 minutes. So you're doing 2 extra minutes for every set. In total, that's only 6 whole extra minutes. It isn't really that deep. The next thing that we have to consider in programming is how many sets we do. Now because of that we're doing less reps and resting longer, this means that we can add even more volume in the form of sets. What I find best is doing 4 to 5 sets of bench press at the very start of my session. And then later on I do some kind of incline bench variation for my upper chest. This is purely for aesthetic reasons. If you're not bothered about aesthetics, just forget about this. So that's the basics covered. By now you should be lifting with good form and good frequency at a good enough volume. Now we can look at the fun tips and tricks that we can do to accelerate our progress even faster. So trick number 1, which I'd recommend you do, is isometric holds either at the top portion or at the bottom portion of the lift. So to do the top version of an isometric hold, load up the bar onto the rack with 20 kilograms over your 1 rep max. Unrack the bar and just hold your arms straight above your chest for around 15 to 20 seconds. The reason why this is beneficial is because it gets you used to the feeling of a really heavy bench press, and then it'll also psychologically make your weight feel a lot lighter when you go on to do a normal 1 rep max. So that's more of a psychological trick. Something that's more physical is doing a lower half isometric hold. For this you're going to need safety pins. Put the bar onto them with just enough room for your chest to go under. Load up the bar with a weight that you cannot move at all. So once you've got the bar ready, slide under it and get into position. Push as hard as you can for 30 seconds, rest for 2 minutes and repeat that 3 times. The reason why isometric holds are brilliant for strength is because biologically you are strongest when you're trying to hold a static position. You're basically conditioning all of your motor units to contract all at once at a specific portion of that lift, which makes it ideal for bench press because most people's sticking point is at the bottom portion where they're trying to push it off of their chest. So this will ultimately solve that. So trick number 2, which I'd recommend you do, is something called a deload week. Now this sounds counterintuitive, but prior to a bench PR, you should bench less. Not only benching less, you should just rest your whole body as an entirety by doing something called a deload week. This is basically where you still go into the gym, but you're lifting lighter weights and going further from failure. This allows your body to recover from any fatigue which has built up over the months of trying to push harder and trying to gain strength, and it'll prime you ready for that day where you go for a bench PR. So during this week, you should try and focus on getting your form down. This is true for all exercises, but especially on bench. Then also do some stretches during this week, because most of the time when someone gets injured, it's because of a PR. So that's all I've got for today's video. Make sure that you have a spotter when you go for a PR, and also warm up thoroughly beforehand. If you found this video useful, consider subscribing because there's going to be plenty more where this came from.